What's up, guys? This is Devin Roberts with Lore Archive, and today we are going to be doing a spoiler-free breakdown of Mistborn Era 1, a series by Brandon Sanderson. Guys, if you have gotten into reading this series whatsoever, you know it's absolutely on the top of my recommended reading list. I actually think it's on Amazon's recommended reading list now for young readers, but to get into a little bit about it, the land of Scadrial, created by Brandon Sanderson, is a world wrought with destruction. There is ash falling from the sky, plants and greenery has turned brown all across the world. There's mists that roll in on the edges of towns and cities that are mysterious and the locals make rumors about. It is a world fraught with ecological danger. The world is out to get you. And these mists, even for example, have something crawling in them called mishrace. Mishrace are like big, gelatinous, clear goos of creatures. They crawl around eating dead corpses, taking in the mass of that corpse and adding it to its gelatinous ooze form. This is not a happy, fun to live in world, and a lot of our story is discovering why that is. So Mistborn as a story, when it very initially opens with a character named Kelsier. And Kelsier is one of our main characters throughout this series. He is a Ska rebel. Ska are the slave class or the lower class in Scadrial. They are actually considered almost lesser than human on this planet, and he is a rebel Ska almost wannabe hero at this point. He's traveling from plantation to plantation, trying to show the Ska a way they can rise up against their suppressive masters. So Kelsier is a very interesting character. We get off the gate. We'll quickly move from him to our actually primary character of the books, Ven. And Ven is a young street urchin girl. She is actually living in the streets of Luthadel, the largest city in Scadrial, under the eyes of the Lord Ruler, who is the big Primarch of Scadrial. He is considered immortal, considered a god, has powers beyond anyone's understanding, creates the world the way it is, and everyone listens to him. So she lives in the primary city where this guy rules. And she, mostly what she does is she works with local street gangs and subgroups as a, what they call throughout the series as a soother. They think she just has very good luck. She's able to talk to people or say certain things or just be in the right place, and she can influence people in the way she wants. And quickly we find out that this isn't just actually luck, but she actually has soothing power. She has the ability to actually use what we call Mistborn abilities to burn metals. So what that is the Mistborn abilities in this book, the abilities of Mistings or Mistborn, are the ability to ingest a metal like iron or steel or something like that, to drink it, maybe flecks of it mixed in with water, and then to burn that metal inside your body and turn it into a specific power set. The only one Ven is able to use when we're first starting off this series is her ability to soothe people, to make them feel a certain way based on how she pushes or pulls on their emotions. And this is why she's good in these street gang kind of situations. But very quickly, she winds up running into a man by the name of Kelsier, who happens to be, like we were discussing earlier, a Ska hero, rebel, vigilante, recognizes her potential and the actual breadth of her ability and gets her off the streets and recruits her into what is essentially just another gang with a little bit higher class that he's currently running. But in this process, he discovers that Ven is not only a Misting, someone who has one metal that they can burn and one set of powers, but is actually a Mistborn like him, who can use all the possible metals and all the combinations of powers that come with them. Our series is about Kelsier and his rebel plan, and Ven learning to be a Mistborn under Kelsier throughout the series and growing into her own person. Now, at first when I started reading this, I came from the Stormlight Archives, which is a different Brandon Sanderson series. I had some reservations about going into this book for a few reasons. One, I very much feel I need to relate to the main character in a book that I'm reading. So sometimes I have a difficulty reading a book that is primarily or almost completely from a female perspective, just because it makes it harder to relate to for me. But this book, the characters that they built into the story, Ven and Kelsier and the members of their crew respectively, are incredibly relatable and incredibly diverse and enjoyable to read about. This book especially the first one, Mistborn 1, is incredibly built. They're all individual stories that link together into one significantly larger story. When Brandon Sanderson wrote these books, he said he wanted to write them like a classic heist film where a crew is gathered, they go on a mission, the mission goes wrong, and then there's an aha moment for the watcher at the end. I saw that before reading Mistborn. I was very skeptical that I would be able to translate into a book format, but the way he does it is masterful. If you are intimidated getting into larger book series, Mistborn is significantly shorter than the average book series in the fantasy genre, at least. I believe it's about 100, 200,000, 300,000 words, I believe, if I'm correct. That's a very digestible length for a fantastic book. And if you don't like the first book, if for some reason it wasn't your taste and you didn't want to continue the series, the first book is a very complete story that is wonderful to read within itself. But I find that most people, if you're trying to get into Brandon Sanderson, if you're trying to get into the Cosmere and his works, the best way to enter is through the Mistborn series. It has maybe the best power system built in fantasy history. It has incredible characters, incredible story, incredible race and class relations and tensions, which I know I talk about a lot with Brandon Sanderson, but is one of my favorite aspects of his writing, and the mystery of the Lord Ruler, the big head of Luthadel and Scadrial, and how the world came to be this way is one of the most interesting mysteries that I've ever read about. It kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time, and I definitely recommend this book series to anyone who is trying to get into the fantasy series, who has been spending a long time in it, and maybe just hasn't hopped into the Cosmere yet to find out more about what's available there.